I'm Steve Fisher, the everyday prostate cancer warrior. Let's be really clear here. Prostate cancer is a dirty bugger. The treatments and the side effects are absolutely brutal. And if you want straight talk about it, honesty, you're in the right place. Most people assume that the really difficult side effects only come with surgery. But I'm going to tell you up front, whether you had surgery, radiation, hormone treatments, whatever you had as a treatment, many of the symptoms and side effects, both physical and mental, can be very similar. Now, as for me, I was treated with brachytherapy and external beam radiation. No surgery. And even so, I went through changes and other physical side effects that brought a lot of anxiety, constant worry, fear, depression, and some serious embarrassment. And for me, all of this hit at the worst possible time, near the end of 2020, right during the height or the highest point of the COVID pandemic. Now, on top of my cancer treatment, like I said before, I lost my wife. But I didn't tell you that I lost about 2/3 of my income. I had to put down my dog, one of my dogs. I had to sell the house, and I moved to a town where I didn't know a soul. I felt like everything was collapsing all at once. Now, if you're watching this right now and you're struggling with the side effects of prostate cancer treatment, the anxiety, the worry, the depression, or the embarrassment, I want you to know that you're not weak and you're not alone. There really is hope on the other side. In my last video, I shared a lot of my personal experiences, but I didn't mention some of the changes that I faced 3 to 4 years later. Blockages, retention. I was in 3 different states, making, count them, 7 different emergency room visits due to urinary blockages. But that's a story for another time. What I want to talk about today is the emotional side. The anxiety, the constant worry that started right at the time of diagnosis. Even without the surgery, the fear of whether the treatment had worked, the constant anxiety over PSA scores, and the worry about the future were real from the beginning. Now, in that way, the mental and the emotional experience was very similar to what many men go through after surgery. When the emotional side hit, it hit hard. There was constant anxiety. Maybe not so much about the cancer itself, but wondering if the brachytherapy and the radiation had actually worked. That quiet fear can still show up years later. The embarrassment came mostly from the physical side. Once those side effects appear, the urinary urgency, the blockages, and changes like that made everyday life stressful. I was always thinking about where the nearest bathroom was or where the nearest emergency room was. I started avoiding a lot of situations. And the shame that I felt about what my body was doing really affected how I saw myself. On top of that, like I said, I was still grieving. On occasion, I found myself in a very dark place. Some days it was hard to get out of bed, and I'm not going to pretend that it was easy or that I suddenly became strong. It took time, a long time. And the biggest turning point for me was finding my faith. That's a story for another time, but it was a big part of my recovery. Now, make no mistake, life never went back to the way it was before. But slowly and surely, I started feeling like it was worth living again. I'm not here to tell you how to fix everything. I'm just here to say this. When it feels like everything is falling apart, the cancer, the side effects, the fear, the losses, it doesn't have to stay dark forever. If you're going through any of this right now, whether you've been diagnosed, had surgery, had radiation, you're on hormone treatments, brachytherapy, or anything else, and you're struggling with worry, depression, or the embarrassment from side effects, know this. what you're feeling is common. It doesn't mean you're failing or weak. Prostate cancer affects more than just your prostate. Like I said, it affects how you see yourself. Talk to someone if you can, a doctor, a counselor, a support group, even another man who's been through it. You don't have to carry it alone. Be patient with yourself. Healing, both physical and mental, takes time. And it's okay if some days are harder than others. Now, I made this video because I wish someone had told me back then what was normal. To struggle with physical and mentally, the anxiety, the worry, the embarrassment, they're all real, very real. But so is the possibility of coming out the other side and finding hope again. If this video helped you feel a little less alone, please leave a comment. I read every one of them. And if you're comfortable with it, please subscribe and ring that bell so we can keep talking about these things. Things that matter. Thanks for watching. More soon.